What's going on, guys, and welcome to my new video. As a small start for this channel, I thought we could take a look at 10 outstanding games scheduled to release this year. So there are many games which look cool coming this year, and all of these were covered by others. My list will only include games which try to do something new and therefore stand out. Let's get started. My first game on the list is a true next-gen horror game called The Medium. The game is developed by Blooper Team, who have a lot of experience when it comes to horror games. They developed Layers of Fear, Observer, and some other horror games. The Medium, however, is nothing like the aforementioned games. It is a third-person horror game which features a dual reality system. As a medium, you can exist in two places at once: the physical world and the spiritual world. So as you can see in the footage, you can control one character in two worlds simultaneously. Not always, but the dev said we will be able to do that in 1/3 of the game. The actions in one world can influence the other. So for example, if you push a light switch or something like that in one world, then the light gets turned on in the other. Both worlds are rendered in real time, and that's probably a huge reason why the game isn't coming to last-gen consoles. It will be interesting to see what kind of new possibilities this feature has. I personally am excited for this new game, and I hope that it will breathe some fresh air to the horror genre when the game launches this month. GhostWire Tokyo is an action-adventure horror game coming to PS5 and PC, which had a rough development history. The game is developed by Tango Gameworks, developer of The Within, and it was announced back at E3 2019 by the former creative director Ikumi Nakamura, who left some big impressions because of the way she presented. She just was full of energy, and you could see how excited she was when she could finally announce her project, the first project she directed. A few months after that, she resigned after working there for 9 years. It was pretty weird, obviously. You could tell that she was excited to develop GhostWire Tokyo, but on the other hand, she just left. Something must have happened behind the scenes, but who really knows. Anyway, everything I've mentioned puts the game in a bad light, and maybe the game will be a big disappointment, but it doesn't change the fact that they tried to make something new. So GhostWire Tokyo is an action-oriented game. Unlike other horror games where you have to run away from enemies, this time around you have to face your fears and fight your enemies. I know many games have done this already, but not in this way. I mean, look at this gameplay, these awesome Naruto hand signs. First I thought that it looked weird, and it still is somehow. I didn't like it when I first saw the gameplay, but since I've started watching Naruto, I'm completely into this shit. So yeah, that's a game I might buy and do a review on when it launches this year. The indie studio Rainbite, who only released one game, is developing a new twin-stick shooter where you play as a witch, but instead of using magic like normally, you shoot your enemies with guns. In Trigger Witch, you play as the young witch Colette, shoot happy sweet little mushrooms, explore an open world with different biomes and 7 dungeons where you can take on some riddles and shoot your way through enemies. The game's fantasy setting, the fact that you're a witch who uses guns instead of magic, and the mix of adventure game elements brings something new to the twin-stick shooter genre. They plan to release the game this year. Let's see what they got in store for us. Biomutant has been in development for quite some time. Experiment 101 only has 18 people, and they started working on this open world action RPG 5 years ago. The scope of this game is pretty vast, considering that only 18 people work on it. Like I mentioned, it is an open world action RPG, which features a world with mutated animals. The protagonist will also be an animal, which can also mutate in different ways based on the environment. By shaping your own character in the character editor, you are not only changing the appearance of your character, the looks also have an impact on your stats. The combat system looks like a mix of Devil May Cry's gun and sword combat with kung fu elements, for me at least. There will be a lot you can use in combat. You can ride on rockets, go in mech suits, fly a balloon, and like I said, even mutate yourself. You can basically do more than in Cyberpunk, which is weird considering, like I said, that only 18 people work on Biomutant. The world, setting, mutations and possibilities make this game fresh, and that's why it stands out. THQ stated that the release date will be in the fiscal year 2020, which ends on March 31 this year. We still haven't heard much from the game this year and last year. It's January, so I wouldn't bet on a launch this fiscal year. It is more likely that Biomutant launches by the end of 2021.
The West, the land of opportunity. A place where you can be a hero.
Wolfeye Studios is the new studio established by Rafael Colantonio, lead designer of Dishonored. He and his studio are developing their first action RPG, Weird West. Weird West is in its core an action RPG, but the dev said that it is also an immersive sim. In this fantasy reimagined Wild West, you play as all of these characters you see. What sets the game apart from its competition, Diablo and Path of Exile for example, is the setting and the simulation sandbox nature of this game. The devs want to give you many options of how you play the game. You could take a more stealthy approach, fight your way through enemies, or even take a trickery approach. Weird West is promised to have a dynamic world similar to Divinity: Original Sins. What I mean is that, for example, if you steal many items and if many people see you often, then you become wanted and then you have to face the consequences. Also, what's really interesting, if a companion dies, he is dead forever. So I think the game really sounds great and sets itself apart from games like Diablo or Path of Exile. I really like the art style of this game and the setting. Weird West is scheduled to release this year.
Just me and you, yeah!
What are you doing?
You're not feeling it?
No.
Okay, you're entitled to your own opinion.
The new game from Hazelight Studios, creators of A Way Out, is called It Takes Two. It will again be a coop-only game, but this time around the game focuses more on platforming and humor. You play as May and Cody, a couple who is going through a divorce. Through unknown means, both minds are transported into the dolls of their daughter, which represent her parents. Both of them must find a way back into their bodies. The game mixes so many different elements in terms of gameplay and the environment. I mean, look at the gameplay. At one moment you're playing some kind of top-down action RPG in a classic fantasy dungeon. In the other you're riding on some frogs in a magical forest. That's why the game is the most outstanding platformer we know of as of right now. Can't wait to play it when it launches on March 26. Arcane Studios, the developers of critically acclaimed games such as the Dishonored franchise and Prey 2017, are currently developing their newest game Deathloop. In Deathloop you play as Colt, a powerful assassin who is stuck in a loop. To get out of this loop he has to kill his targets within one day. If he doesn't manage to do so, he has to restart. There are many obstacles to face when you want to kill every target. You have to remember the activities of your targets in order to find the perfect moment to take them out, and you have to kill normal enemies. The biggest threat, however, is Juliana Blake, who is also an assassin. She wants him to stay in the loop because she thinks of it as a game and she wants to continue playing. Juliana can be controlled by an AI or by a player. So if she's controlled by a player, you can infiltrate other player sessions in order to kill them as Juliana. Arcane Studios is trying to make a single player story with an immersive multiplayer experience, so that every run is a little bit different. It has some roguelike elements, I would say, but done differently. With a multiplayer component. The concept sounds really good and the gameplay looks great, but it still seems hard to accomplish such a big goal. Let's see what they do with this game when it launches this year. Talking about loops, the indie game 12 Minutes, developed by Luis Antonio, also puts the player in a loop. What should have been a romantic evening with your wife turns out to be a nightmare. A police officer storms your house and accuses your wife that she committed a murder and punches you to death, only to put you back to the point where you open the door. But by the time you wake up and repeat the loop, you know what's coming, what happened before you died. Your goal is to gain the knowledge of what actually happened by repeating the same loop over and over again. The game has an interesting premise and some really big voice actors are also part of this game, like James McAvoy from X-Men, Deadpool 2 and It Chapter 2, Daisy Ridley, who played Rey in Star Wars, and Willem Dafoe, who we know from Spider-Man and also John Wick. Originally, the game should release 2020 but was delayed to 2021. So let's see what they have in store for us.
Stop it! Don't break my door! Oops. That's it. You're mental.
The first punch-and-click adventure, which was mostly made, I think around 70 to 80%, but only one person, is scheduled to release this year. Brok the InvestiGator is an adventure game which combines elements from adventure games, obviously, beat 'em ups and RPGs. It is developed by Cowcat Games, and yeah, in a world where animals replaced humans, you play as the former boxer Brok, who became a detective after the death of his wife. As Brok, you're able to solve puzzles, interrogate people, and interact with your environment by clicking on everything, like in every classic point-and-click adventure. You're able to choose a stance, so you're able to do everything I've mentioned just now in adventure mode, but you're also able to change your stance into action mode. Then you're able to punch almost everything and even throw items or use them as weapons. The dev emphasized that choice in Brok the InvestiGator will matter and that the game will feature multiple endings. A free prologue is available right now on Steam and GOG. You can play the first chapter of this game for free and it was pretty fun. I already played it. Also, there's a Kickstarter page which launched today. And yeah, if you're interested in the game, then take a look.
I doubt you could even imagine it.
The last game on my list is the game I want most. So I know Elden Ring isn't confirmed to release this year, but I still think that it might come out, and it is my most anticipated game as of right now. So yeah, I had to include it on the list. From Software clearly is one of the best developers right now. All of their releases in the past decade were awesome. In 2019 they've announced Elden Ring, their newest dark fantasy RPG, directed by Miyazaki. The story is written by Miyazaki and George R.R. Martin, and this fact alone got many people really excited for this game, myself included. From Software tries to bring the Souls formula they invented to a whole new level. In Elden Ring, players will explore much bigger areas than in every other games from Software. There will be large fields where we ride through with a horse. So to make it clear, currently we don't know really if it will be a real open world. I would love some kind of multi-region open world similar to Witcher 3, because I think it's even better than a seamless open world. The lore and the story will cover political and racial themes, which actually isn't common for From Software games. There will be a lot more RPG options when it comes to making a character build. And yeah, as you already guessed, the game will feature a high difficulty and boss fights are again the climax. While I do hope that the game is ready to be released this year, I also think that From Software should take as much time as possible to finish the game and not rush it, unlike Cyberpunk 2077, and give us the game we want and expect. So yeah, that's the complete list. Thanks for watching. If there are any games I missed on my list, then let me know. And yeah, that was the video. I hope you liked it, and we'll see us in the next video. Bye.